The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
With so many people living longer, the fear of outliving your money becomes a reality for many of us. Will I be a financial burden? Will I outlive my money? How will I be remembered? My name is Neil Himmelstein, president of Main Street Planning Group. Please contact me by visiting mainstreetplanninggroup.com. That's mainstreetplanninggroup.com, or call 631-647-4694. I will introduce you to strategies that will guarantee you will not outlive your money, that can guarantee you will not be a burden on your loved ones. Through a collaborative approach, we will uncover solutions that offer tax-efficient strategies, lifetime income, and legacy planning, choice, organization, direction, and education. That is the code we stand behind. Contact mainstreetplanninggroup.com. That's mainstreetplanninggroup.com, or call 631-647-4694. And listen to me every Friday at 3 p.m. as I host the Main Street Code for Financial Success, right here on 103.9 LI News Radio. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein. I'm here every Friday at 3 o'clock. You can catch me, and if you miss an episode, you can catch me on Apple or Spotify, or email me at themainstreetcode.com. And we are here to talk about our code, which is choice, organization, direction, and education. And we help hundreds of advisors across the United States and clients like you who have needs in insurance, life insurance, annuities, disability, and long-term care. We're completely agnostic. We represent 30 different insurance companies, and we're here as solution providers to you and your businesses. Besides doing that, if you don't have a financial team put together, everyone we recommend has a financial team, an accountant, attorney, investment guy, an insurance person. If you don't have a team, we'll help you put one together. And this month, we want to talk about, this is National Women's Month, and we're going to talk about women in business. And I brought on with me an expert in that area, and that's Lisa Rosenthal. Say hi, Lisa.
Hi, Neil, and thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. Lisa, I know you run 2 women in business groups, and you are also a big partner in Accountant Resource Group, which are these business groups. What inspired you to get into this area of expertise, and tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I'd be happy to. It's been a journey. Like, most professionals have a story. There's no straight line to what we each might consider success. And, hopefully we all learn from all those different parts and pieces, which I certainly have. But I'll just briefly share my background. In the mid-'90s, I was doing commercial real estate abroad. And one of my business partners came to me and said, I really would love for you to work with us in New York. This is what I'd like you to do. And I kind of laughed, and I said, I have the best gig in the world. I don't report to anyone. I work for myself. I bring my kids with me. I travel internationally, come and go as I please. And then he put a number across the table from me and said, this is what I'll pay you. And if I'm not mistaken, your children have to go to school soon. And he was absolutely right. And I kind of I was just kind of in my rhythm and never really thought they were going to school and camps and things in 2 different countries. And I was like, oh, this works.
All right.
But he was absolutely right. I was going to have to make a decision. So I did. And it was a great experience. And after a year of helping his company, I started my own. And I worked and started my own internet company in the mid-'90s. And it was amazing. And we created community online. And I became known over the next 5-6 years as kind of the online community guru. I have always believed that people matter most. And, good business comes along with that belief. So I did that, sold the business in 91, and then basically was a consultant for all of the businesses I had worked with for about 12 years as my kids grew up. And then ARG, the Accountants Resource Group.
Fantastic.
Was my next gig, and, facilitating relationships and working with people and helping small to mid-sized businesses grow has always been a passion. It's kind of what I've been doing most of my career. And then about 5 years ago, I was approached by the Women's Presidents Organization, WPO, to facilitate a Long Island chapter of women-owned businesses that do $1 million or more in revenue as the benchmark for entry. And what was fascinating to me, I learned then, only about 3% of all women-owned businesses ever hit that benchmark of $1 million
Wow.
in revenue. It blew me away. There's less than 2% of institutional money that goes to women-owned businesses. The statistics haven't really changed in many, many years. So that brought me to, and I still facilitate for WPO, but this year in 2025, I started a women's group for women-owned businesses that haven't quite hit that benchmark yet. Right? And my goal is to help them get there because I believe that's where I can have the most impact. It's life-changing for a small women-owned business to reach that benchmark. Right. Helping somebody get from 5 million to 10 million, that's great, but their quality of life is not going to change as drastically as the woman that hasn't gotten there yet.
Exactly.
So that's a little bit more about me and what I do, and
that's
I'm
nice.
really happy to be here.
So what challenges as a woman did you face in business, and how did you overcome them?
That's a great question, and there are many. But I think the answer to all of those challenges is to try to be the best at what you are doing so that people don't see you as a woman, they see you as the industry or subject matter expert in what you bring to the table. Having people see you first as a woman, which is what happens with all of us, the only way to overcome that is to be better than everybody else at what you do.
And you are, and I thank you for that. And I know what you do, and I appreciate what you do and how you do. Do you have any mentors or role models who influenced, your leadership style, or?
There's certainly a couple of people, and there's certainly endless number of women who have contributed to my confidence and my ability to do what I do. I think that's the power of conversation amongst women professionals. Mm-hmm. We have very real conversation. We share stories, and we support one another. And that support is invaluable. It lets other women know they're not alone, especially facilitating these women business groups. It's peer leadership, right? So it's all confidential. We get into a group. We really have honest conversation about our challenges, and then honest response about how each of us has overcome, right? So that particular issue, that woman is able to take the best of what she's learned from all of us and apply it to what works best for her.
That's
we manage differently, we lead differently, and it's not to say that it's better or worse. It's just different than men. Having a conversation, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No, absolutely. I found it particularly challenging since I have a lot of people who bring me business and everything else, and also business people that deal with me and my family. I noticed that even workers that come to the house treat my wife differently or ignore her in the decision-making process when she's the decision maker, and people overlook that women in business, I guess that's got to be a huge obstacle in dealing with certain, I don't want to call them norms, but prejudices that are out there.
Sure. I mean, at one point years ago, I took my title off my card. I didn't want to work with other professionals or vendors that were disrespectful in that manner. You didn't need to know that I was the CEO. You didn't need to know, anything other than I'm the decision maker. And if you look past that statement and you're looking for somebody else for buy-in, you're not taking me seriously.
Right. I think it's a big problem, and people don't even realize it, how they're losing business because they're not communicating properly and treating women equally. It's I've noticed it internally, but so many people are blind to it that they lose business all the time and don't understand in women in business. It's such a prevalent thing. and are the decision makers in most financial transactions, believe it or not. So I can give you statistics as well. But we have a commercial coming up, and you've been listening to the Main Street Code for Financial Success, and my guest is Lisa Rosenthal. And Lisa, if you have a young woman's business that needs to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you?
Sure. My best email is lmr@wellbeyond55.com, and I'd love to hear from all of you.
Fantastic. And we're going to be right back after a commercial. If you need to get a hold of me, the best way is 631-647-4694. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein. We're here today with Lisa Rosenthal. And Lisa, before the break, we talked about Women's History Month and women in business. And Lisa's an expert in that area in developing business and integrating and running women in business groups. She's also integral in running the Accountant Resource Group and in getting people involved. She is my mentor in helping me get into this digital world. When COVID hit, I kind of followed her path and how she positioned things and everything else. And before the break or during the break, you were talking to me about some of the changes that have gone on in the business world and how you've adapted to it. And I think that's an important thing to tell people. And how is it going to create more opportunities for people, women in particular, some of the changes that you see?
So if you don't mind, before we go further, I just want to finish answering the question before the break that who are some of my mentors?
Yes.
And thank you for that, Neil. Yes, I remember when COVID hit, and I think basically 72 hours, and I told my partner, Bruce Libman, from the Accountants Resource Group, he's like, well, what do we do now? And I said, you just kind of get out of my way. 72 hours, and we were virtual. And I was doing trainings for all of our members on Zoom,
right.
How to set up a home office, how to use Zoom. So we did conference calls. It was quite remarkable what happened at the time. And I do remember you saying to me, just tell me what I need to do. So,
yep.
I really felt at the time that helping each and every one of our 200 members get up and running and feel stable and secure at that time, that was going to drive economic stability for all of us, and it was a mission at the time. So I appreciate the thoughts about that.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. So Bruce Lipman.
I listened.
Oh yes, you did. You did, and you look where you are now. But Bruce Libman, who's my business partner with the Accountants Resource Group, he started the organization about 30 years ago, and I joined him about 14, 15 years ago. And so when we met, we both operated in under a very similar belief structure around people and relationships. But I had really never met anyone in the market that operated the same way I did.
Right.
We have very different styles, but we hold the same belief system about, good people know good people and, warm relationships. I always say people matter most over anything.
Right.
Being human and connecting to people. So when we started to work together, it was kind of like a no-brainer. But he's taught me so much, things, just perspective and how to see things and, some qualities about people that I don't know that you really get from a book, but it gets from being, sitting in observance of people, which he does.
Absolutely. And the thing I found astounding, and the thing that happened in my business, I'm in a personal relationship business. And when COVID hit, I know a lot of the people that work with me tensed up and sat in a corner. And that's absolutely when we started this radio show. It was people tensed up, and because I'm used to seeing people, I'm used to touching people, I'm used to, shaking their hand and having coffee, and that had to change if you were to continue on. And you helped me, and I changed, and I had to create more of outwardly appearance. And actually my business grew during that time when other people were languishing, because I followed everything that you were doing, quite honestly, in building virtual relationships, which became real relationships. They become real relationships anyhow, but virtually, and the radio show all helped my business tremendously because I was forced to.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the question you asked me about, challenges and changing environments and things. I think that's the key. Whether you're a man or a woman, professionally or even personally, the more resiliency you have, the faster you can respond to a changing environment. And I'll say that right now, and I think we all feel this, the world is changing so fast. Technology is changing so fast. No human can actually keep up.
Right.
So if you're not keeping up with your technology skill set, professionally, the industry is going to pass you by very quickly, depending on the pace of adoption of new technology in your particular industry, whatever that is. As a professional, I think it's the number one thing that all professionals need to do is to keep their technology skills sharp. But that adaptability and the belief that you can be flexible, right?
Right. Well, that's
the more
right.
Resiliency, right? The more resilient we all are, the better off we are, right?
I agree with that.
To adapt to changing environments quickly. And as a professional and as a business owner, that's what you do. That's what I do. That's what business owners do all day long. We solve problems.
Exactly.
We strategize. We solve current issues, and we strategize for the future. What comes next? Right?
Exactly.
And there's only so much you can prepare for. So being adaptable and flexible and having that resiliency and the knowledge to know, you handle anything that comes your way.
Right.
Where to reach out.
Absolutely.
Who are your resources? Who are your people? Just like you advocate for, right? You advocate for a team.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because part of your background, which you didn't mention, which I recently found out about, is you had a whole senior magazine or something. What were you doing?
I did. I had a company, which I still do, called Well Beyond 55, and I published a magazine for the consumer that focused on people who were 50 and older.
Right.
So healthcare and all of the professional services and the value of them.
Right.
Because, if you're in your late 40s, early 50s, you may not have even thought about life insurance. You may not have even thought about trust and estate planning. When my first child was born, who's about to have her first child any time now, 35 years ago, the very first thing I did was put a will in place.
Right.
It was simple and it didn't matter. It just was to protect, I now had a child. So I think, and I still believe this, at that time in people's lives, you're in the heart of your career, your family life is busy and hectic. You might be sandwich generation, taking care of parents and children. And it was always something I advocated for. But, I'm a solution person. And all the business that I've ever done is always because I found a hole in the market. I was solving for a problem.
Absolutely.
And that was a problem.
Right.
And that was a problem.
And it's even a bigger problem today with people living longer and having more issues, a fear of outliving their money, having long-term care issues. And it's funny because I just, had a conversation with a whole group of people, a group that I founded, and I just had people talk about their issues and what they're dealing with. And, a lot of them, they're all over 50, 55, and, a lot of the issues they were dealing with wasn't their personal health care, but they were running and traveling back and forth to Florida because their mother was sick, or their father-in-law, and then meanwhile they have grandchildren like yourself. You're going to have a grandchild, yet your mom, and you're pulled in so many directions, and it hurts you financially, not only emotionally. I mean, emotionally it's horrendous. How do you spend time with this one and that one and be in 6 places at the same time and run a business? But also,
you become a caregiver in 30 seconds, and if you're not prepared for it, it's life-changing for everybody.
Right.
So preparing prior to an emergency that makes you a caregiver is critical for all families, all professionals, all people.
Absolutely. Well, you've been listening to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I hope you enjoyed today. I certainly did. And Lisa, thank you so much. And how can I get a hold of you again, Lisa?
So two ways. LMR at wellbeyond55.com, or you can reach out to us at Accountants Resource Group, Lisa at arg-ny.com.
Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon, everybody. And you've been listening to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. Best way to get a hold of me, Neil Himmelstein, is 631-647-4694. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.